On the Rave!
Hi, this is Mark Archer from Alternate.
Hi, this is Ian from Dream Frequency.
This is Slipmat, and you're in tune to the On the Rave.
On the Rave
On the Rave!
Podcast.
Watch your bass fins, I'm telling you.
Going good. I've got my voice back, as everyone can hear.
Yeah, that's it. You're neither croaky or squeaky at the moment, which is good. I'm on a week off, and to be fair, I've completely forgot what you do when you're off. Like, the first day I was off, I woke up at 10 o'clock and was like, got work to do. What do you do?
Watch telly on that.
Yeah, well, that's it. I honestly didn't know what to do on the first day. A couple of days away have done well, though. Reset the batteries and all that, Addie.
That's what it's all about, really.
It is. Exactly. I'll tell you what else it's all about, though, Addie.
What's that?
A little bit of Ravers choice.
Oh, I love a bit of Ravers choice.
Oh, we do love a bit of Ravers choice. I tell you what, let's kick off this podcast the way we always kick off this podcast.
And let's kick it off in a proper kick-off way.
Yeah.
With some fucking Death Chan records. This was nominated by Chris Tarbett, an old school friend of mine from a long time ago. Davey loves chocolate, he'll know what I mean. And this is Hellfish and producer, The Ripper, original.
Whoa. Get ready for this. I'm going to rip you and you.
King Hercules, professor of death and a 7 seas. The river King Hercules. Rise for you all.
It was a banger.
It was.
Jack the Ripper, King Hercules, Professor of Death, and the Seven Seas. All of them.
There's now like a little bit of Hellfish and Producer to start off one of these bloody podcasts there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we've got everyone moving. Who's the guest?
Well, yeah, that's right. You're about to hear a conversation that we had with the latest guest that we've got on the podcast. Part of the extended Bangface family and someone that we've met a few times. So you're all about to hear mine and Addie's conversation on Skype with the wonderful KUSHTI McPARDY. Enjoy. Hey, Addie, guess what?
What's that, Gavin?
Well, we have gone and got another one of those guests on our podcast.
Another guest, and it's a bang guest.
It is an absolute bang guest, a man that we met at a Bangface.
At many
Many Bangfaces.
In fact, a man that interviewed me very, very, very high in the arcade at the last Bangface.
Well, there we go. And now we're going to interview him on a random Friday night. Being all KUSHTI and Bardy with Mr. KUSHTI Bardy. How's it going, mate?
Oh, good, man. Good, mate. Yeah. Push Addie towards the microphone, though.
Yes, I am coming towards it.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's because he's leaning back and being super
It's
casual.
because I get super casual and start like flouncing around on the sofa. Is that better, mate?
Yeah, it's grand. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. Like, you know.
I'll just be loud.
Yeah.
Okay. We can't stop him from being loud in any case. That's what he's got a megaphone for. In any case, as you said, we are online right now with KUSHTI Bardy on Skype, and we're going to go through a list of questions. For the uninitiated, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do, and a little bit about your musical interviewings and muselings?
So it's a long story. Yeah, I've been into rave since like 91, 92. You know, used to go to all sorts of illegal raves down in Cornwall or club nights and all that sort of stuff.
With a Shire horse.
Well, this is the thing. Back then, you didn't really pay it much attention, you know?
Yeah. It's just a legendary place that I've heard lots of people talk about in Cornwall, but I never got a chance to go down there.
It's a long way from you.
It is a long way from here.
So I used to go around. I used to live in Penzance, and I used to hang out with a load of people from St. Ives, and we used to go to all sorts of gigs in St. Ives. But back then, you know, you're not in. Oh wow, we're in the Shire Horse. This guy Aphex, wow, he's really good. That never happened, you know.
Yeah.
Because of course it wouldn't have done, because it's just people, you know.
Yeah.
It's just people. Like I actually used to know Luke Viber. I actually would know him better than anyone else from down in Cornwall now, because he used to be in a punk band called 5 Minute Fashion.
Right.
And I used to be into punk as well, and I used to hang out with loads of punks and what have you. And then I used to hang around with 5 Minute Fashion quite a bit. So I used to actually, although again back then I didn't know him as, you know, anything other than a bass player in a punk band.
Yeah.
And it's not until hindsight and you go, oh wow, yeah, that guy. Gosh, yeah, that guy. I remember him from 20 years ago.
Amazing. And with Luke Viber as well, he's just got that many bloody aliases between like Eamon Andrews and Wagon Christ and Spackhand Luke and just all of the different bits of so many thumbs and so many pies. It's weird to hear. Well, it's not. It's interesting to hear, not weird to hear that his roots were in punk.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk at length about the whole relationship between punk DIY ethos and the rave underground, couldn't we? But don't know. That would probably take the whole podcast up, wouldn't it?
Yes, that's add another 2 hours to it.
And we haven't even got to the first tune, right?
No, no idea.
But yeah, that's me. Like I say, I've been in and out of rave a bit. You know, got married, had kids, bought a house, all that sort of boring stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm very much into my second wave. Now the kids are older and more established. I can, you know, my sleepless nights are on the dance floor, not, you know, changing nappies. So yeah, I'm on my second wave now. Got into doing radio about 7 years ago now. DJing again, putting on gigs, all sorts of that stuff, you know. And again, I think with the maturity of hindsight, you can go, well, hang on, you really got to work at it. You know, there's no. I mean, I think I see a lot of people, younger people, you know, in the 20s or whatever, think, oh yeah, it's grand, just do whatever. But now I'm like getting on in life. I'm realizing like, no, work hard at it. Even though it's your hobby, work hard at it. And that's my ethos at the moment. Yeah.
That's absolutely what you've got to do with it. Like, it's my dream would be to get into doing radio full time. That's what I went and got my degree for, so I could like practice and get down that route and go the radio route. That's the way I'd love to go. So maybe we'll chat a little bit about that afterwards and see if you've got any hints and tips for someone just trying to slide their toe into there. So by
radio, radio is an interesting one because as a media, it's interesting, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but you remember like 10 years ago, you would have watched terrestrial television in real time, and now it's like nobody watches TV in real time. Everyone's watching Netflix. So
It's all pre-recorded.
who's watching? Who's listening to the radio in real time? Even So for me, it's like, it's good to do the podcast because I do the podcast now every week. So I see the radio as being a bit of both. It's great to be on the FM because I'm broadcasting to 1 million people in Dublin, of which none are listening. But it means that you never know when someone might just randomly tune in and randomly go, hang on, what the hell's this?
Yeah,
and then, you got a new connection locally, which is really good.
Yeah, it's always good to have the most eyes you can on you at any possible time.
I love it. Yeah, that's me. And people say to me, how many people are listening to the radio show, when it's broadcast on the FM? I say, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But even if nobody was listening, I'd still do it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Well,
that's it.
You're doing it anyway, so you might as well reach out on as many branches as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, doesn't matter how many people are listening, as long as someone's listening, then you're doing your job, aren't you?
And that someone could go and tell someone else, that'll tell someone else, that'll tell someone else.
Yeah, there you go. You get the Wayne's World effect. They'll tell one friend, and they'll tell one friend, and you can get all Wayne's World about it. But I think that's part of the joy of radio. Like, plus I've just got one of those faces that's better for radio. The voice is like honey, the face is like a brick. The way I'd describe it in any case. But let's shift on and let's start answering a few of these questions.
Eventually.
And segue directly into early influences. So, by the way of early influences, who played the music in the house? What was played? Like, what sort of bands? What sort of mediums? Come on, tell a little bit about your early influences in music.
Yeah, no one was listening to music in my house. Whatever was on the radio would happen to be on the radio. Yeah, literally, I don't think anybody in my family was that interested in music at all. But I was. I was always kind of into it, Top of the Pops and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's how I got into Madness. I think that's a great band to get into. I mean, that was like when I was about 10 or thereabouts. And,
back then it would have been like full on energy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just proper energy in a big stage show, like just an amazingly engrossing band.
Yeah, I was watching the documentary on Netflix about Lemmy, and one of the things they were saying on there, I think someone from Metallica or something was saying, oh no, it was Henry Rollins said, he was talking to Lemmy, and Lemmy said, I remember what life was like before rock and roll. Obviously, I don't know that myself, but I remember what life was like before Rave. And like before Rave, what would you listen to? And I think if you didn't have Rave, Madness is a great choice. Because as you say, all that energy and the rhythm and everything,
Can't disagree with you.
It's a good way to actually think about it there, yeah.
Nah. I've got I work in the kitchen and I've got playlists that have got Madness tunes on, and when they drop, they just pick the energy right up. Everyone starts skanking along, and even if you're chopping parsley, you can be in rhythm while you're doing it. And it's just one of those bands that are so accessible to such a large array of people who are into sort of polite music can get into that. People who are into more of the subcultures, the skinhead subcultures and stuff like that, got into it for different reasons. And Suggs was just such a baller as well.
Yeah. So this was the first record I ever actually bought. We went up to Woolworths. We brought my mum up to Woolworths, and we bought it in Woolworths. And my parents were like, "Why would you bother buying a record when you can just listen to it on the radio?" And it's like, you just didn't get it. I mean, no disrespect to my parents, but yeah.
That's it.
It's just like, you might wait 2 hours to listen to the one track that you want. You might have to hear Kathy Dennis 3 times before you hear one Madness song.
Well, that's it, yeah. There's only so many times you can listen to Heartbeat before you need the scar on, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Look, I still collect music to these days. I still dig through records to see if I can find anything that I want. I stopped collecting Rave stuff quite a while ago now. Like after I just gave up on DJing because after 7 years I couldn't beat match. So it's like just
that's a long slog like that, Gav. That's a long slog.
Hey mate, I did try. I just wasn't good at it. I genuinely wasn't good at it, and it wasn't for not being able to try, because I damn tried with those techniques. I did. But yeah, there's something about that. Like, I have issues trusting people who don't listen to music. When one of the key things you say to someone, like, what sort of music do you listen to? Oh, I don't listen to music. It's like, really? Like, of any sort? And I can't see how, like, because music's such a huge part of my life, can't quite comprehend when music isn't part of someone else's.
But then they'll say, what sports team do you like? And I'm like, whatever the local sports team is. I don't know, the green one or the blue one, I don't know.
Yeah, whereas I'm in Newcastle, and if you try and pretend you don't know what the local football team is, you get punched and kicked
I
out
can
the bar.
imagine.
Yeah, that's that. If they cut you and you don't bleed black and white, then you're from the wrong side of the river, mate. Like you've got to be full on into that. So what do you think it is about Madness that like drew your young ears in?
Well, I think it was the energy there. As you say in the ska. Hang on. I think it was the energy and just the madness in it. I mean, quite literally, if you see the video to that as well, and they're all dancing, and it's all just, it's just hard not to get into, really, isn't it? And there's so many other good songs as well that they've got. You could listen to that for hours on end. Such a good band.
You could, and some of that early stuff was very song driven, like story driven. Sorry, so you had songs like "Cardiac Arrest," which like actually told a story as it was going on, and the story behind Nightboat to Cairo and stuff like that. They really did have a lot of proper good tunes.
And it also was a time where music videos were just coming on in that sort of form anyway. So it was like a brand new medium. Not just having the music, but having something to watch along with it.
Yeah, like the randomness of the video to baggy trousers.
Yeah, it's a wacky video.
It is. And you remember the video as much as you remember the song in those sort of cases, because it's just when music was sort of being more visual, It wasn't just a band playing a song. There was the video, the brand, the image of the band and stuff like that. It was it were all new. What is it about this one particular song that you've picked that made you select this one?
Just the fact it was the first thing I ever bought on vinyl.
Yeah,
it's like the earliest memory of a tune going, oh yeah, I like that.
Right. Do you know if you still got it?
Oh God, no. Controversial. I haven't got any vinyl. Actually, I've got one or two pieces of vinyl, but no, I haven't got any vinyl anymore. Digital. Everything's digital. I literally couldn't manage vinyl anymore. Everything has to be digital.
Everything is digital these days. DJs turn up with a full MP3 player rather than turn up with records, and it's totally understandable, because records are precious. You don't want to have to lug them around. Plus, they're fucking heavy, man.
That's that 20 years of carrying my record bag around, and it's just like, I'm not doing this anymore. Let's go digital.
Yeah.
And you can turn up to a gig, and it's like, will I play techno, like hard techno, or will I play a bit of jungle? Will I play a bit of French core?
Yeah.
And you just never know sometimes on the night what's going to work, and you just want to change it up. There's no way you can do that with vinyl.
No, you've got your set, and apart from B-sides, that set's going to be set in stone for the rest of that night.
B-sides and those couple that never leave the bag.
Oh yeah, there's always the couple.
There's always those couple that never leave the bag. The absolute party droppers. Well, I'll tell you what, then maybe we've drawn this one out a little bit. So do you want to introduce this first song? So for the early influences track, KUSHTI has picked Madness, and the name of the tune is
Wings of a Dove. Enjoy.
Take time for your pleasure and laugh with love. Take the hand of another and sing for the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa, for the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa, for the wings of a dove. Look up at the rooftops when you're walking round. Don't think for a moment of looking down. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah, yeah. For the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa.
of music, you know, the odd piece here and there as I went along. It wasn't until I probably got a paper round, you know, and you started getting money, your own money in your pocket, you could go out and buy your own music.
Your own disposable income.
God, yeah, man.
Disposable income.
Beastie Boys. What was that one called? What's that one called? Oh, that debut album, the Beastie Boys called.
The one with the plane.
Yeah.
Oh.
License to Ill? No. Was that License to Ill?
I think so. I am going to double check as we speak.
Addy's going to use the power of Google. Can the
Right,
power
let's
of
Google.
Google get the answer for Addy before Gav stops talking? No, because his fingers are not as fast as my tongue. I had this album. I bought this album off of eBay in like a group buy when, you know, when someone's like just gave up and they're selling all of their one genre of records.
And it was Licensed to Ill.
There we
Oh,
go.
there you
So
go.
that was a nice little. We got the informations for License to Ill. Whilst Gav was using his creative license to fill the gaps in the air. But so yeah. So after the Beastie Boys, what else were you picking up?
Yeah, basically lots of that sort of stuff. Oh man, I was into. Do you remember electro, hip hop, breakdance, all that sort of stuff?
Oh, yes.
Oh yes.
Man. Oh
Bit of
god,
Herb
yeah.
Hancock and all that.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm trying to think now. What's that one? Oh, I should have probably researched this a little bit better. But yeah, a lot of that stuff, you know, Dougie Fresh. Oh man,
Nice.
it's all coming back. It's like a repressed childhood memory all coming back. And then yeah, sort of. Do you remember Bad News? That was an interesting one. I think I got into Bad News because I was listening to like, you know, Comic Relief and stuff like that, and I listened to Bad News. And then once I listened to that, then I started getting into heavy metal big time. So I think the angsty 15-year-old boy heavy metal cliche.
So what sort of heavy metal were you getting into? The stuff of the time, or were you going back and getting into like the hair heavy metal from the past, or where did your allegiances lie?
Basically, a lot of my stuff, you'd go into HMV or wherever, and that's where your fingers would go through the records and see what was what. So
Yeah.
I wasn't really. I mean, 15 years old, you're not going to get into Led Zeppelin, you know. You need to be at least mature, a little bit mature before you start realizing the joy of Zeppelin, you know. But yeah, no, Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, anything like that. And I also got into punk back then as well. You know, stuff like you know, Extreme Noise Terror, Napalm Death, Dead Kennedys.
I love Jello by Alpha, so the Dead Kennedy stuff's amazing as well.
And it's amazing how poignant still a lot of that stuff is as well, you know. That track, it's just a talking track, but the one Kinky Sex Makes the World Go Round, where he's saying, you know, the more people we kill in this war, the more we can profit. It's like, how is that still not true today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like still completely relevant all those years later. Like Jello by Alpha still does these like stand-up talks and stuff like that, where he still does have a really good point about some of the stuff that's going on. Like, search him out, you can still see all of his stuff on YouTube. Like, if you want to find some of what the Dead Kennedys lead singer is up to these days. And of course, they had huge songs like Holiday in Cambodia, which were just off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that one as well, the Kinky Sex track, I mean, there's a bit in that as well where he says, don't worry about the demonstrators, just pump up your drug supply. More people that get into heroin and LSD, even the better, like, you know. And you're kind of thinking, yeah, you know, the more they can undermine any sort of counterculture or any, you know, resistance, more people take drugs, great, then they're going to be more interested in taking drugs than they are actually, you know, caring about what's in their own back garden, you know. True, so true. It's ridiculous, but there you go. Politics, one of the things that I think should never be mixed with rave.
Rave
and here we are.
Yeah.
Well, that's punk. Punk is politics, right? Yeah. Whereas rave, I kind of believe in that. You know, you may be black, you may be white, you may be Jew or Gentile. It doesn't matter, because in our house there is only house music.
Way, there we go. Was that someone else's line, or is that something that you've coined? Because if you've coined that, you should put that on a fucking t-shirt.
Mate, you need to go to Google.
I need to go to Google.
House music was born.
Ah, well, there we go.
Where was that? That must be like 88 or 89 or one of those.
Yeah, I would have thought 88.
Really early acid house tracks. I don't know who. Probably Frankie Knuckles or someone like that. It's the manifesto of rave, mate.
So, of all the sort of you said that you got into the sort of angsty metal-y stuff. What was it that drew you towards it? Was that the way you were feeling at the time, or was it because that's what everyone else was listening to, or?
Oh God, never have I ever listened to music because that's what people were listening to.
Good man.
ever.
Man.
Like I found plenty of people who were into the same music as me, and then, oh yeah, what do you want to listen to? You listen to this, and oh yeah, that's good, and discover music like that. But God Almighty, I always say to people, if you, it's like putting on gigs. You put on a breakcore gig or something like that, and you lose money, and people are like, oh, well, it's like, well, if I wanted to make money, I certainly wouldn't be putting on breakcore. If I wanted to be popular, if I wanted to be popular, I wouldn't be listening to thrash metal or punk or breakcore. I'd be listening to some EDM crap.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, you'd be listening to fucking Old Town Road and all that dink, whatever sells on the charts, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you've got to put on what's in your soul. I find, like, if you're going to pour yourself into it, you've got to have a connection to it.
And it's like you were saying earlier about you don't really trust people that don't listen to music, because it's like music speaks to your soul. It is who you are to an extent.
Yeah, that's it. And sharing the type of music that's in your soul gives you that sort of, that rewarding feeling. Just like sharing an artist with someone who you then see a couple of weeks later sharing their songs on Facebook or Twitter and being like, yes, I have done my work. I have put my staff into the ground, and I have had an effect on that man's musical thinkings and musical well-being, which I always quite enjoy. It's always nice to pass on information like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd go more with seeing the light, as in you show people the light, and if they're drawn to it, fair enough. But if someone listens to something that I'm listening to and they don't like it, fair enough, move on.
Yeah, that's it. You can't always have it your way, you know what I mean?
but you can always try.
You can always try. You can always try and push what you like on everyone. You just can't always get them to pick up the spoon and let them have a big old mouthful of themselves. So, of all the early sort of more angsty metally stuff you were listening to, is there any one band or one song in particular that stands out that you'd like to talk about and explain a little to the listeners?
Well, I got the track that I've picked here, the Slayer South of Heaven, which for me is an absolute standout track, one of those tracks that I'd still listen to this day if the mood takes me, and want to find something like that. When I'm going back through a lot of the other stuff, Extreme Noise Terror, God Almighty, what a band, I think the thing that drew me to it was, again, it was the energy and the power, the fact that nobody cared about what they were doing or how it was reflected, or what other people thought of it. Very much drew me to it, because I've never been one to make myself popular. I've always just done what I've wanted to do, and if you like it, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've often said, when I die, I want to be cremated, right? And when the coffin goes into the crematorium thing and it's drifting off.
Yeah.
Metallica, Seek and Destroy. Imagine that. Oh my God, that would just be such an exit tune, wouldn't it?
You're right, like.
Maybe we can add a 12th question to the list. Just after, what's your personal anthem? What do you want to get buried to?
Oh,
buried or burned to?
Buried
or burned.
Buried or burned. There you go.
And what tune you going out to?
Well, we're adding features to the show as we go. Yeah. To be fair, I've had this like long-running fantasy. They've actually banned it recently. You can no longer be like fired out to sea. But I wanted to be fired out to sea to a song from Disney's Bedknobs and Broomsticks. The It's Lovely Bobbing Along. Bobbing along, bottom of the beautiful briny sea. And that's always the way I saw myself going out until the banned it. And now I'm not quite sure what's going to be there at the end. Kind of like most people, I suppose. It sounds more poetic than it should have been.
I was always hoping that I would get just drug along by like a boat for you see those the bait seals that they get for sharks.
Right, yeah.
And just get whipped in half by a great white, just like fucking waist down. I'm just like.
You want to be baited to sharks?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
If I was already dead, that would make a fucking excellent video.
Anything for science. Yeah.
I'm all about the science.
Yeah, anything for science. Cool. Well, here we go then. Let's play, for you finding your own feet track, let's play a little bit of Slayer. And as you said, the name of the tune is
South of Heaven.
Let's go. There we go. That was a bit of lovely, lovely Slayer. That was South of Heaven.
I'd like to put that out to Tony T, who, when he gave me free tickets to see Slayer with him, fucked off 10 minutes before Slayer came on because he wasn't feeling the night.
Oh dear. And he had, when they were giving away all the free tickets, because when they couldn't sell a ticket to see Slayer in Newcastle, that's bad crack. Like bad crack.
It was great crack because I got free tickets for Slayer.
Well,
I've actually never seen Slayer. Is that a bad thing?
They were good. It was a really good night.
Yeah.
I've heard they're one of those hit and miss bands. They're either absolutely class or they kind of couldn't be arsed.
They put in a performance that night, like.
Good. I like it when a band puts in a performance. You know what I mean?
I was really. It was amazing because there was just so many adults there with small children just air drumming. There was this kid in front of me that was just an amazing air drummer that was just hitting every fucking snare and cymbal along with the drummer.
Like that little boy who trended on Facebook recently for drumming along like the Slipknot.
Yeah, very much like that.
That's it. The kids get into music, they get into their parents' music, and I think people listen to such a wide variety of music these days that kids are going to grow up with such a diverse field of music to listen to.
Not my kids. My kids hate everything I listen to.
Do they hate everything you listen to?
Yeah.
You know
when they were like 4 or 5.
You got that rave shit on again.
Yeah. When they were like 4 or 5, they were like, "Oh yeah, I love this acid jungle techno." But now they're like, "Nah, Justin Bieber or One Direction or whatever."
Dad, do a remix of the latest BTS song.
God.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get rid of those sort of memories and segue straight into section 3 of the podcast, Addy, which is...
First rave memory. That was a good segue.
There we
well
go.
Done.
You
High
see,
five.
you'd think I'd be doing these for a couple of years now and had a bit of paper to say that I could. But yeah, first rave memory. So, Kushti, do you specifically remember the first rave you went to, or like the majority of guests on this podcast, are your memories of that day a little bit hazy?
Yeah, so it should be first rave memories with a question mark at the end, shouldn't it?
It should.
Was it a rave? I don't know.
Fiction on the word first rave memories.
Yeah, I think first rave memories, like, I think if you went to a rave like in 2000 and your mates dragged you along, it's like, here you go, wow, rave, you know? But I think, you know, when you go in the 90s or the very early 90s, you know, I first went like 91, 92, definitely 91 anyway, you just sort of go to clubs that are playing what is effectively commercial rave music or stuff that's like, you know, dance music or whatever.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like dance mixes of the latest pop songs.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So was that a rave? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
see what.
No, I would say no. It's not a rave. I'd say no.
When I was very young, and when I was first going out to raves, and all my friends weren't into raves apart from like maybe a handful. Like that handful would go to a proper rave, and then we'd go out with our other mates to Newcastle and to the Ritzy and that, and we would definitely be like, yeah, this is just a night out, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely not a rave.
And then you go out with your mates in the car looking for the illegal raves, because there was a few down there in Cornwall. Phase 2 was the big one there. But then if you go out there and it's like 30 people in a field listening to a very big car stereo, is that a rave? Don't think so, really. No. But, you know.
We are challenging the definition of what a rave is today, Addy.
Here we are.
Which is good, you know. It's good to move those guidelines. So if you really put your brain to it and you proper think about it, what was the first big gathering of people to specifically listen to rave-orientated music?
So do you know what I said earlier about how, you know, when you get older in life, you can get more focused on what everything is. It's like the, you know, the old timers going, well, is this a rave or isn't it a rave? You know,
yeah, exactly.
What was the influence on the you know, this on the too analytical. I'd say most people just go, yeah, everything was a rave or whatever. I don't know. I'd say my first proper, what I would call a proper rave, was when I went to Portsmouth. I moved to Portsmouth in '92 for university, and then I would have gone to Fusion. Again, it's the sort of thing you could actually Google now. It was Fusion, and then yeah, that was like the first proper rave. But even then, because I hadn't got a clue what I was listening to, it was just like, well, hey, this is great, you know. So I'd say definition of a rave is they are playing music that is predominantly not in the charts, and there is a sound system that's either hooked up to some sort of generator or whatever, as opposed to just a big stereo. Does that sound like a good definition?
That's pretty much spot on.
Yeah, I'd say if I was in that environment, I'd be inclined to say I was at a rave.
Maybe controversial, but I think if there are people there who have no interest in rave whatsoever, but are only there to sell, let's say, homemade goods at the back of the rave, then there's definitely a rave, because you don't get those in clubs.
This is true.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the witch doctors at the back with their brews. Yeah, I know what you mean. And having frequented that many a time, then you can tell the difference between being in a club that's playing rave music and actually being at said rave. Like you can tell the difference of those ones. But
one's a lot less gurney.
One is a lot less gurney. You're right. Although you might leave both in a bit of a mess, one would be described as considerably less less gurney. So when it comes to your rave memories, say if we didn't call it first rave memories, what if we called it early rave memories? So like sort of voce rave memories, as they would say on.
No, there you go. How about this for a definition?
Yeah.
First memories of going, I'm a raver.
Wait. First, I'm a raver memories. So when did that hit? When were you struck with the rave bug?
That would definitely be 92, 93, Portsmouth, going to Fusion, going up to Aldershot from Portsmouth, because they had Rhythm Station there, and that went on till like 5 or 6 in the morning, sort of thing. That was good venue. Those good venues, like probably, I have no idea now, but it's probably 500 to 800 in the venue. You get people like Time, Clarkey,
Nice.
you know, Slipmat, all the big names would be down there. And it'd always have a solid lineup. And it'd have a chill out room as well, which something seems to be, nobody seems to do chill out rooms anymore, but chill out room, that was a good thing as well.
Yeah, these days it's just harder in the back room, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
I definitely miss a chill out room. You always need somewhere just to
Take a deep breath.
like just to talk utter bullshit to people that you just randomly met.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We used to do that in the. You used to go to the chill out room to sit and smoke, but now you go outside. So I suppose the chill out room is now the fucking smoking area.
It is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think the defining moment as well would be when you first go out and buy a whistle for the purpose of going to a rave, to wear it around your neck and go, dee, dee, you know, and blow the whistle.
Yeah.
That's your membership card, as it were.
Yeah. Or the first time you steal someone's white gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the ones you can tick off your little rave memory box. So at these early raves in Portsmouth, are there any artists in particular that stood out to you?
I'll name two. So for me, Portsmouth Guildhall, Kenny Ken, 1993, playing what I later discovered and fell in love with as jungle music. That was just like, oh my God. Because before then I was just into breakbeat hardcore or whatever. And then really Jungle 93 was like, oh, this is something special. And then again, maybe I'm playing into the crowd here, but Clarkey, when he started playing the hardcore. And again, that again sort of started off as bouncy techno or hard techno.
Is that like the very start of Area 51 records?
Area 51 was 95, wasn't it?
Ish. But that was very much when bouncy techno just started getting a little bit harder, a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And it was still very much the same sort of sounds, just a little bit, you know, up in tempo.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Clarkey, I think, was, I mean, I don't know about the north, but down in south, Clarkey was the go-to guy for hardcore, like what we would call hardcore, you know?
Yeah. No, he was big up here. He didn't play much up here, but he was still quite big, mostly through like tapes and things like that.
I was going to say everyone had a Clarkey tape or a different version of a Clarkey tape.
And then when Area 51 came about, like, a lot of he got a lot bigger because of that, because all his tunes were just everywhere, like Power of the Herb and stuff were just like.
What I'm going to do, go to Discogs. Area 51, I think Area 51 was 95. I'm impressed with the fact I knew when that Licensed to Ill name. Some things you remember, isn't it?
Helter Skelter and the like was very much the parties that when Area 51 came around.
I like a little research session in the middle of the podcast to make sure that everyone's got their lines all correct.
All right, so we're halfway there. I said 95. Addie was saying 93. It was actually 94. So there we go.
Oh, there we are. I'd split the difference.
difference.
Let's talk a little bit about the song you chose and why you chose it then.
Oh yeah, that was a weird one.
Well, the night was a weird one, or the song you chose was a weird one?
Well, because this would fall in the definition of a nightclub that played rave music rather than an actual rave.
Oh, right.
And they played lots of.
Contrary to what we just talked about.
Go for it.
They were playing like, you know, Prodigy or stuff like that. But then they played what I now discover is Rotterdam Termination Source Poing. But of course, back then I had no idea what it was. But there's you know. 20 years later, you'll hear that tune and go, I know exactly what that was because of the doing, 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 doing. Such a stupid tune. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, but such a stupid tune, isn't it? But it's just, I think what I love about it is the fact that it's just got that. Let's focus on something which we enjoy listening to or dancing to or what's got the energy. Don't care about, you know, if it sounds silly or stupid or how it actually sounds, but it's like, how does it make you feel? And you know, that was like 93 or whatever, or 92, I forget. I'm not going back to Discogs. But you know, I think that for me is what I think is an important part of the rave music I listen to now is it's not what it sounds like or any of that pretentious beard stroking stuff, but actually, how does it make you feel? You know, and if I'm listening to something now, I always ask myself, how does it make me feel? And Rotterdam Termination Source Poing, silly track, but how does it make you feel? Absolutely magic, and especially back then, it's such a banger, you know. Still is a banger.
Yeah,
right?
no, definitely. In my old school sets now, I'll still wrap up rack it out once or twice. It is like, especially if you're playing something non-4/4, some breakbeat or something, and those kick drums kick in over the top of it, people go wild still.
It's a good transition track, isn't it? If you're going to up the tempo.
It's also a fucking right kick in the bollocks for you, because it's just like breakbeat, breakbeat, breakbeat. He has the hardest kick drum that you've heard all night.
And now top that.
It's our generation's meter at the Love Parade, isn't it?
Yes, it could be.
Sound. Well, I'll tell you what, let's leave that section there and play the track for everyone. So, for the first rave memory, or shall we say, first time you listen to rave in a club memory, or some sort of version of that.
When you consider yourself a raver memory.
Yeah, when did you first consider yourself a raver memory? We're going to go for a bit of Rotterdam Termination Sauce.
Boing, boing, boing.
There we go, and that was a little bit of poing for everyone. And as anyone's familiar with Addie's set, you'll have heard that one and went,
Lots of times.
know exactly where that one's coming from. Again, that's a little bit of Rotterdam termination sauce. Let's start straight into question 4 and talk about festival fever. So, having met you at a Bangface and spoken to you at a Bangface and knowing that you've played at a Bangface, I'm going to be really perturbed if you tell us you don't actually like festivals with all of this Bangface association. So, where do you lie on festival fever? Do you like a bit of outdoor noise?
Don't like festivals.
Don't like festivals?
No, well, I mean, they're all right to an extent. I don't know. Bangface, yes, absolutely. Bangface, Bangface, you know?
Is it because, like Gav, you don't like camping?
100%.
There we go. Then we can be brothers on this one. The reason I love Bangface and the reason I kept going back to Bangface is because I had my own porcelain shit at the stool in, and I had my own shower to wipe off the rave scum every night.
Well, you see a shower, it could trickle out of a tap
Well,
halfway up the wall.
Yeah,
But,
you're right.
but you have a key to a door, and you know that when you come back 12 hours later, it's still there.
This is true. This is very true.
This is it. And if you've left the key in the door, you can always find a slippery scouse that push through your window.
Yes.
True story. Fully true story. And that was in exchange for me leaving the keys in the shed, in the chalet. A scouser walked past her. I literally had turned to the person I was in the chalet with and said, you know what we really need right now? We need a slippery scouser to push through this window. And we were like, mate, can you lend me out? And he was like, all right, mate, what's the problem, mate? It was like, I've actually found a scouser. If you get through that window, I'll give you some bucky. Oh, no problems, mate. Straight up through the window, open the front door. All right, lad, where's the bucky? Like, we're straight on it. So, yeah, I mean, I've got a love for Bangface because of that and because of what I would call the chalet sessions.
So
Like,
look, before we get too much into the Bangface, right, we're obviously going to come back to Bangface, right? But other festivals, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, there's Bolter, there's Boomtown, there's all sorts going on like that. They are all fantastic, and I think they're brilliant. Camping, it's not for me. If I'm going to a festival, I will literally go in, do the day, and come back out again. If I'm playing, I'll go in, I'll do the day, and I'll come back out again.
Yeah.
But I'm not dissing festivals. Festivals are great.
yeah,
But
that's it. I mean,
when you get to a certain
when it
age-
comes to it. Yeah, that's
At
it.
a
Each
certain
their
age, you
own.
need comfort.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just too old to faff in the mud anymore, man.
Totally.
Apart from Lindisfarne this year.
Yeah, I will make an exception for when there's going to be a stage named after us at a festival.
So we were in the chalet. There's all just like, 6, 7 o'clock, whatever. We're having a cup of tea or whatever.
Right.
Guy opens the door, comes in, and we're all like, completely random guy comes in, and we're like, oh, wait, who are you, mate? He's out of his mind, like, And we're like, oh, who's this guy trying to get him out the door or whatever? And he's like, oh, yeah, can I just sit down for a bit? So, okay, Gran, sit down. And he gets his bag out, and, the bag has got sweets in it, let's say. And he's like, oh, yeah, does anybody want some sweets? He's like, oh, yeah, mate, come in, sit down. Do you want a cup of tea? Get you some biscuits. He's like, yeah, help yourself to some of this, and some of this, and some of this. It's like Bangface, where people just stumble in and give you free sweets.
Yes.
It's like
Very much
crazy.
so.
Very much. It's a wonderful environment. It's the only environment where I went out to the rave dressed as the devil, and by the day after, without getting washed, I was wandering around the festival as Jesus blessing people. That genuinely has happened at a Bangface before. As well as I had a penchant for getting dressed as the devil and going to Chalet 666 and just kicking the door in and being like, right, get out of my chalet, what yous all doing? One year, one of my favourite years, I went to Chalet 666 and the door was just really slightly open. Just slightly open. And I leant round and I was like, there was a guy lying on the sofa, with the blanket over his face. So I just crept in and I leant over him where he was lying. And I just tapped him on the shoulder and he rolled over. He looked us in the face while I was still bright red and painted and had corns. And I was like, you all right, mate? And he rolled back over and just pulled his blanket over his head. Is all that he did. And I snuck backwards out of his chalet and pushed the door really, really gently closed, which is just one of the amazing things about Bangface as is. So, is there any artist that's played at a Bangface or any tune that particularly reminds you of a wicked Bangface?
Well, no. I don't
Gotta
know.
love the truth.
Yeah. I mean, you've always got the headliners there, haven't you? You've always got Venetian Snares, Square Pusher, people like that. They don't really do much for me. I mean, they're a great artist, but for me, I always like all the underground stuff that's at Bangface. I think they always put a lot of effort into curating amazing lineups. And, you know, sure, like yourself, I live and breathe underground rave music. And there's always, and I don't know how they do it, but there's always artists there that you're like, I've never heard of this person. You listen to it, and you're like, oh my God, how have I not listened to this before?
Most definitely.
And every year, so I'll pick one as an example. There's a guy called Cursa, CURSA. They do bassline stuff. Never heard of him. And now I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I want to listen to more of this. EPROM, again, Sully. Just every year, I'm always looking at that lineup and going, wow, absolutely got to hear this person, you know? I don't know how they do it. So to say who's the best, I hate doing that, you know, because everything's awesome, literally, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So is there one tune out there just that sort of reminds you of being in that festival mood?
Well, I mean, we're talking about summertime, right? So I was sort of thinking,
summertime sunshine mood.
You know, I mean, I'm thinking when I'm driving in my car, I'm driving to a gig or driving to a festival or whatever. You know, I've gone for DJ Hype Weird Energy because it's just such, I don't know, I always like creativity in music. And I think, you know, within the jungle genre, you know, Weird Energy, it's kind of a jungle tune, but it's also very different. It doesn't really fit in with everything else. They're the things that always stand out for me in any sort of music, you know. And I think, you know, when I'm saying I'm not a big fan of snares or square push or whatever, it's because I feel like a lot of their music, it's like you heard one of the tracks, heard two of the tracks, you've heard it all. Whereas I always like the underground stuff where it's always something that's very different, you know. So anything that's different, like jazz, anything, classical, anything, all sorts, everything, all music, anything that lifts my spirit, puts me in the mood.
So let's roll on to the track.
Yeah, DJ Hype, Weird Energy, Energy and Consciousness. I mean, ooh, what a tune.
Sweet. Well, let's get it on then.
Energy and consciousness. Energy and consciousness. Energy and consciousness. Energy and consciousness. and consciousness. Energy and consciousness.
Oh, well, that was a bit of DJ hype.
Yeah, with some weird energy being played out for the Festival Fever moment on the podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, DJ Hype, again, is one of those guys I don't think I've ever seen. It's like, how'd you never hear DJ Hype at a festival or a gig? Crazy, don't know. On the to-do list, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I've seen it. Like, he's one who plays in Newcastle regularly, so we've been blessed to see him.
I've never seen him in Newcastle, I don't think.
You've never
I've seen him in other places, but not Newcastle.
I'm pretty sure I've seen him in Newcastle as well.
He was booked to play Bangface 2018 or something,
Yeah.
but I think he was ill or he had a medical problem or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, you're thinking, oh great, I'll see Hype at Bangface. And he's like, yeah, didn't make it.
Damn. Yeah, just like Diane Wood. Wasn't it Diane Wood who was supposed to be a Bangface and didn't?
Yeah, but they just be able to go and play somewhere bigger, didn't they?
They just be able to go and play somewhere in America or some shit like that.
I'm sure they played Coachella.
Oh, that's nice of them, yeah, to play at Coachella. Right, cool. Well, let's stroll on to section 5, which is the shared discovery section of the podcast. So, shared discoveries is when we talk about music by artists who maybe don't get the love that you think they should, or maybe who've put out this banging track who you think hasn't had the love that it should, and to see if there's any artists out there that you'd like to push a little bit. So, is there anyone out there that you don't think gets enough love, who deserves a bit more, and we'll give them a play?
Well, I've narrowed it down to one, but it was almost impossible to narrow it down to one. And the guy I'm going with is Slim Sinner. And it's, like I say, I don't like saying someone is better than anybody else. I absolutely abhor saying that.
Right.
So I don't like the idea of saying this person is the best, because they are not the best. There's lots of people out there, and it really depends on, it's such a subjective thing. It's like saying who's the best painter,
That's it. It's all open to interpretation, isn't it?
What's the best TV show? You could be there all day. What's the best film? Well, I think 28 Days Later is a great film, but then,
because Transformers the movie is the greatest film of all time.
But you'd be wrong, because Labyrinth's the greatest film of all time. So
just because you fucking bum Bowie, man.
Well, leave Bowie's bum out of this. It's his ballsack that everyone was interested in, not his bum. But in any case,
so yeah, it's a very subjective thing. But I think there are huge amounts of people out there. The reason I went with Slim Sinner is because he's done a lot of different genres, and he's done them very well. He's done a lot of the hardcore, sort of hard tech sort of stuff, releases there, and more recently now he's been doing like old school jungle techno. And the lad's like, I don't know, like 20, 25, that sort of era. So for someone that's like that age, to be doing jungle techno and doing it really well is phenomenal. Hats off to him,
Sweet. Okay. And do you know where people can find him? Is he just all over YouTube, or?
Yeah, just go into SoundCloud. Just type in Slim Sinner. That's SINNA for Sinner. The tune I've gone with here is I Can't Get No Sleep, which is on Subcode. Again, Subcode's a great label. They're doing lots of that old jungle techno, which is really good. Yeah, the old school stuff. It's an interesting one as well, because like you'll hear a lot of people doing like what they call new school now, or old school, that breakbeat hardcore, and all they've done is just taken like Outlander Vamp and just put a different kick on it, and then put some stabs from Prodigy and go, hey, look at my new track. And it's like, no, all you've done is just mashed up two tracks and made a piece of crap, people are actually making new, original, old school. That is where it's at. Like, I mean, Coco Bryce, again, he's doing a fantastic job of that at the moment as well, you know. Loads of people. I mean, the list is unbelievably long.
Cool. Well, I see no better reason than to play some Slim Sinner on the podcast. If you want to find them, you can go and dig them out on SoundCloud. Yeah, we'll get some going. But the tune that's going to be played out for everyone is called I Can't Get No Sleep. Let's go with it. Section 6 of the On the Rave podcast is the part where I hand over the introduction duties to the gentleman sat to my right. Addie?
Ah, yeah. Well, Mr. KUSHTI McPARDY, you've just come out the main room at Bangface and you stepped over some cat victims on the floor. There's pingers lying all over. You've got to negotiate around some inflatable dolphins into the Queen Vic. You're at the bar. You've just bought a plastic cup of warm lager. You've turned around. You're making your way to the very, very busy dance floor. The unknown DJ has just played the greatest tune that you've ever heard in the last 10 minutes. Are you hands in the air, or are you screw facing down and spilling that pint?
Definitely screw face.
Way!
Yeah.
We love a bit of an angry screw face. And what sort of tunes puts a screw on that face?
Anything that's just, and it sounds cliche, but anything that's dirty, you know, that's like really sort of rough and raw and energy. That really can go from, you know, bass music, bass line, right up to Frenchcore. You know, you can get hard, fast music, but it just sounds like just a long distortion of grey noise. Not interested in that. Not interested in that at all. What I want is just, you know, when you get those Frenchcore kicks and they really like get you by the testicles and give you a squeeze. Oh my God, that's what I want.
Yeah, or when the bass hits you so hard, it feels like the brown note's going to invoke something in your guts.
Literally, yes.
Yeah. So you could argue that it's not a screw face, it's the bass face that you pull, isn't it? Like, I think it depends what part of the country you're from as to what you call that. We call it a screw face up here, like, so. Screw face. But no, it's nice to know that we've got another screw face. As always, listeners, I've been lazy and I still haven't done my list of who's been screw face. And
it's only been a year and a half away.
Well, that's it. Yeah, eventually I will put something up on the wall that we can keep tallies with. But I just keep spending my money on obscure pop funkos and stuff like that instead. So, but
would you have an age distribution on that? Would the younger folk be more hands in the air and the older folk be more? Can't be lifting my arms. Too much effort.
It really is. It like a lot of it depends on preferred genres as well, because we've had dark drum and bass DJs come on and they're all about the screw face, and then we've had happy bouncy bassline DJs come on and say they're all about the arms in the air, and old school heads saying the exact same thing. We've even had metalers on, and metalers have been like, you know what, I like a bit of a bass, but for me it's all about the arms in the air and the goosebumps and stuff like that. So it's nice to have a good variety.
It's very much individual choices.
It is, isn't it? Like, and obviously we do have the tweeners, the people that sit on the fence.
One arm in the air, one hand on the pants.
Yes, that's the one.
I think that's called having a stroke, isn't it?
Having something like that. It's just called standing at the back at Bangface and having a moment to yourself to recoil, basically, regather yourself. So, is there a tune out there that really invokes that bass face in you, that puts that face on, guarantees it every time? Who's it by, and what does it do to you that puts that bass face on?
If you want to see my most bassiest of bass faces, I would recommend going to the Queen Vic on Friday, big plug, at about 1 minute past 1 on the Friday. That's when my set is. I'm going to be playing from 1 to about 1:50.
That's at the Bangface weekend of this year, isn't it?
Plug, yeah. And very early on in my set, I've got the first couple of tunes worked out. The very second tune I'm going to play is G. Jones' Time. I think the guy is, I mean, maybe he's the Coachella headliner type of guy. I don't know. But he has his album out. Don't really rate the album. It's okay. It's fair enough, whatever. But it's one tune, Time. When it goes to the drop, I mean, it starts with the bells, so it makes it really easy to mix. And it's got a vocal intro to the main drop, which is good, you know, because you can definitely mix off your tune by the time you get to the vocal main drop. And then it just goes, and it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what it is. There's some, you'd almost maybe misrepresent it as bro step or EDM. You casually go, oh yeah, and I can't be doing any of that. But there's just something about this tune by G. Jones' Time. It's just, oh my God, it just gets me every time. And I cannot wait to play it on that sound system, nice and loud, and just it'll get to the end of the track, and I'd be like, oh shit, I was supposed to be DJing here. I'm lost in the moment.
Addy, I feel my psychic senses kicking in. My premonitions are bubbling. I've got a feeling that if everyone goes on that Friday to Bangface and squeezes into the Queen Vic, that we might be able to get a collective crowd of frowns and fucking screw faces to this tune. So if you're going to be there, if you're going to be at Bangface,
get your fucking screw face on.
Yeah, me and Addie won't be there, so you need a hometown hero to go and support. We want to pass the love on to KUSHTI, so everyone go and see KUSHTI. Make sure you get there for that second track, and all of yous pull the bassiest of all of bass faces. to this tune, which we're going to drop right now, which he's already pre-told you he's selected number 2. Kushti, intro the song for all of them.
Yeah. G. Jones, Time.
Time. Time. So yeah, if we're talking about Screwface as well, then I'll do the wild card for this one.
and I'll definitely go with EPROM and a G Jones tune. I mean, I think it was mainly EPROM that did this one, and I think G Jones was probably involved. The Demon Veil, I was really, again, as I was saying earlier, Bangface, you learn so much about so much music there and so many different artists. I'd never heard of EPROM, and then I really got into his music, and he's making amazing music. And then this one, Demon Veil, it was just wow. Again, there's something about it that was just completely left field or something. I think it's the vocals in it or something like that. As a mixture of sort of drum funk as well as being jungle sort of thing.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant tune.
Sound. Well, let's get straight into it then.
Baseline, I want to see every torch go up. I want to see every lighter go up. I want to see the most noise on this beach when you hear that bass line.
Well, there you go. There's a bit of Coachella action for you. That was G. Jones and Time. And we'll stroll straight into section 7 of the podcast, which is the dedication section.
Yeah, I mean, that one thing with that Time is there are some bits in there which really drag on, and there's lots of atmospheric and whatever. So yeah, I always go for the prime cut in that one. I just go for the drop and just get that bit. But anyway, yeah, dedication. Well, where were we? So I mean, yeah. So I lived in Portsmouth, and then I got a job in the Netherlands, which was amazing. That was '96. So '95, I heard the tune Techno Head, I Want to Be a Hippie, and that really was like, oh, you know, that bouncy sort of gabba style that was going on, and that really got me into gabba. And then so when I got the job, I mean, I went to Holland, you know, for gabba, and I got the job there, and it was like, this is great, 2 things lining up, off I go. So I went to Holland in '96. I met my wife over there. We both started working for the same company. And she had no idea what gabba was. You know, we did this thing where all the new people started in a circle, and it's like, okay, who are you and where are you from, sort of stuff. And I said, oh, you know, who I am and whatever. And I said, I'm a hardcore DJ. And she said, that's the earliest memory of me is when I said I was a hardcore DJ. She's like, oh, who's this guy? She hates gabba. She hates gabba. She hates all the music I like. She almost certainly won't listen to this podcast. But the tune I'm dedicating to her is Techno Head, I Want to Be a Hippie, because it was one of those tunes that just had such an impact. It's an alright tune. It's okay. It's not outstandingly great, but maybe some people are looking at me strange here now. But yeah, it's an alright tune. But everybody knows it. You can't say you know gabba. Don't say you know Techno Head, Want to Be a Hippie.
Well, that's it, yeah. And we had an amazing conversation with the guy who wrote I Want to Be a Hippie a few podcasts ago that people can go back and listen to if you're a new listener to the show. But as a very fitting tribute and as a dedication to his lovely wife, you have selected Techno Head, I Want to Be a Hippie. So, Section 8 of the On the Rave podcast is when we talk about guilty pleasures. So, do you believe there are any guilty pleasures? Or are you someone that has guilty pleasures? Or are you just not bothered what people think about what you're listening to or what you're watching?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I wouldn't classify anything that I enjoy as being a guilty pleasure. I think the things that I enjoy for what they are. As long as, you know, everyone's consenting and no one's getting harmed, you know, let's just do what we enjoy, you know. You know, I mean, that's life, isn't it? As long as no one's getting any ill effects from your enjoyment, then, you know, enjoy everything. You know, it's like enjoying the smell of your own farts, you know. Is that a guilty pleasure?
Will you give yourself your very own Dutch oven?
Yeah, your own Dutch oven when you partake in your own bouquet.
Yes.
Get
high of your own supply.
Oh dear me. we could keep going on, but no, each their own when it comes to guilty pleasures. Like I think as long as you're owning what you're listening to and your opinion on it, then fair play. I mean, is there anything that you particularly listen to that you wouldn't be proud of people finding out you're listening to, or would you not be bothered about anything at all?
Absolutely not bothered whatsoever.
It's
the way to be.
Yeah, it's the way to be.
I mean, why would I give a shit about what you think? I mean, seriously.
Well, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That is absolutely it, and it's an amazing way to be about it. Like, so what sort of thinking did you have when you picked this track then?
Oh yeah, this one's an interesting one. This will probably get you a copyright strike, because whenever you put it up on SoundCloud, it gives me copyright strikes.
Well,
Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, Jazz, Delicious Hot, Disgusting Cold. Oh, man, it's a fucking brilliant tune. I don't know if you listened to it yet, but it's a fucking brilliant tune.
We literally did just listening to it, and I just sat tapping my feet, giggling along to it.
I wouldn't have thought it would give us a copyright strike, but if your thing, but we get copyright strikes all the time. So
yeah, we're in a constant battle with YouTube as to whether or not our content is educational.
I think we got 2 shows up on YouTube in the last 5 or something, just from copyright strikes.
Yeah, so we do exist on YouTube. We just don't have all of our content up there. The most likely, the easiest way people get a hold of us is via Spotify and via iTunes and via Podbean, which is where you can get all of our shows all backdated on there.
And of course, iTunes. Did you say iTunes?
I did say iTunes. Did I say iTunes? I think I mumbled it under my breath. I was iTunes.
That's what I use.
That's what Addie uses. Yeah. But in any case, then, so what is it about this? Why did you pick this tune in general then?
Why did I pick this tune? Again, it's just because it's so full of energy. It's just such a fun tune. I think it's the sort of thing that people would listen to, and when you listen to it, you just straight away, oh my God, this is such a fantastic tune. It's brilliant, you know. It's undeniable art. The guys who recorded it, Bonzo Dog Band, they're known for the Urban Spaceman tune, and they did lots of great music. Apparently, when they recorded this, they actually all switched their instruments. So they all played different instruments that they weren't necessarily familiar with. And they just jammed it in spare studio time, and that was it. One recording, bosh, they did it. I mean, that is pure art, right?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Just swapping your instruments and bashing out and see what happens and pressing record.
Just going for it.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And they've totally captured it. It's a beautiful tune. The other one I was going to
go jazz as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so much jazz is just so pretentious and up its own hole. It's like I would long and love to hear more music like this. And if anybody's out there listening and they go, "Oh yeah, this tune, I know it, and I know loads of more like it," please let me know, because I love this and I would love to hear more like this. And
where can we share it with you? Have you got a Twitter handle they can share it at?
Yeah, KUSHTI23 on Twitter. KUSHTI McPARDY on Facebook.
There you go. So if you've got any tunes that are similar to the tune that we're about to play for all of you, then share it with him. Let him know. Spread the love, spread the musical love, so we can all partake in a bit of the jazz. So I'll tell you what.
So it was a close, and I will tell you this now. It was a close shave between this tune and Endor Pump It Up. Now we're talking guilty pleasures. You know, Bonzo Dog, bit of old jazz. Oh yeah, old timer, he's all right. You know, Pump It Up. There you go. How about that for a tune? You know.
Yeah.
Some people are like, hang on, this is just pure commercial nonsense. But I love it. It's great. It's got everything. It's got energy. Got the chorus. Oh, it's beautiful. Endor Pump It Up would have been it, but no. I'm gonna go with Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, Jazz, Delicious Hot, Disgusting Cold.
Well, there you go. That's a little bit of jazz for everyone. And as we said, share it with Kushti. If you know anything that sounds a little bit like that, find him on Twitter and share the track with him. That was Bonzo Dog Jazz, delicious hot, disgusting cold.
And I will say as well, check out everything by Bonzo Dog Band. The rest of their stuff is nothing like that whatsoever, but they're absolute bonkers.
Are they the ones that did Watch Out, There's a Monster Coming?
That's it.
It is, yeah, it is.
Me and Don actually sampled that track for an early track that we did on Amigas years and years ago.
Don picked that track as his early influence track when he did the show.
That's why we sampled it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. You see, it all comes back round in full circles, like, so. Good. It's good to know that other people are enjoying the same type of music across shows and stuff like that. Like, it's good crack, isn't it? Cool. Well, let's roll into the penultimate of all of the categories, which is when we talk about the greatest of all time. Hashtag GOAT. So, where do you lie when it comes to statements like the greatest of all time? We heard you earlier in the podcast say that sometimes you didn't like it when DJs were referred to as the best of all time and stuff like that, or you wouldn't say that they're the best at something. So how did you come to your decision on this category?
This was probably the hardest of all the questions. Again, going back to, I don't like saying anybody's better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, who is the greatest of all time? And you really have to dig into your own ideas of what you like and, who it is. It's long-standingly brilliant, I was going to say, and throw a curveball at you and say John Williams, who I think of all the artists alive today is probably one of the greatest artists. It's like,
he's made some iconic pieces of music, absolutely iconic pieces of music. So it could be argued that he really is the greatest of all time when it comes to musicians. Like, if just out of interest, if you had to pick John Williams, what track would you have accompanied it with?
Oh, come on! What question is that?
Is there an obvious one I'm missing out? Are you going? Star
Wars? Everything Star Wars, like
original theme.
Or you going Imperial March?
Imperial March. Those sorts of tunes, man, they are amazing.
I'm Digital Sunset.
Digital Sunset. Yeah. Indiana Jones.
Oh,
like there's something about the Indiana Jones theme that I just absolutely love, and there's parts of the soundtrack to Temple of Doom that are just unbelievable.
Did John Williams do Jaws?
I don't know.
He's the kind of guy that you go, did he do Jaws? And you probably find he did.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
and he's also the kind of guy where you go, oh, who's John Williams? Put him into Google and go, oh my God, he did all that. That's unbelievable.
And so much more, probably.
That's it. He's like, he
did do Jaws.
He did do Jaws. There you go. That's how quick Google works in our house, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, but that's a really interesting. It would have been a really interesting way to answer it, like to pick John Williams, like, and it would have been the second time it was a composer that was picked. But you went with a slightly different direction. So what was it that pointed you towards this artist in general?
Well. So it's on the rave, right? And we've had jazz, we've had heavy metal, we've had punk, we've had ska, and it's like, well, there's not very much rave music in this, is there? So I was going to say Prodigy, the Experience album. Maybe we're going to open a can of worms with this one. Prodigy, the Experience album. Best album ever, without a doubt.
Oh, you'll have to join the argument we've got going on there on Instagram where people are disagreeing and going with Jilted Generation.
I'm just like, fuck off, you're all wrong.
I think it's got to do with your age. I think it's got to do with your age.
No, it's got to do with what's the best Prodigy album. And it's
right.
Obviously the Experience.
So cutting through that, best of all time. So I'm looking at someone who for decades has been making great music. Someone who's been making music in different genres and different styles, who constantly pushes and makes things that you just go, oh my God, this is just unlike anything I've heard ever before. Aphex Twin, without a doubt. Even though I don't think he's the greatest artist of all time. So that kind of curveballs your question. But Aphex Twin, I've gone with this tune. I've no idea how the hell you pronounce it. OMG, Yeah, Switch 7. It was in the film, Children of Men. Although they added some screaming on it. They call it Zen music. It's like, oh, we're deep into the future. And this is what we listen to, deep in the future. Aphex Twin. It's like, absolutely, yeah, Aphex Twin. You can't argue, can you?
No,
you can't. Like, at points of my life, I've like just absolutely binged Aphex Twin. Like, Drux and Selected Ambient Works are things that I still listen to on the regular now, and like Volkspear and On and stuff like that. He's just got such a huge back catalogue, and just a guy that people go out of their way to go and see as well. We were lucky enough to be at a Bangface where he played. Unfortunately, the rave did me over, and I slept through it. At that Bangface, that's what you get for raving for X number of days, and then
that was
going for a little sleep.
It was the quiet Bangface as well.
It was. That's what everyone referred to it as. The one,
Bangface.
the quiet Bangface. But yeah,
And of course, I could go with the whole. Oh, I knew Aphex Twin when he was a kid, but I didn't. So
you didn't.
I didn't know him. No, but I mean, obviously he lived in Red Roof, and like you say, he would have played in St. Ives, but I could well have met him, but or even seen his sets, but nah, can't call that one really.
Yeah, so you've never actually met him?
Don't think so. No.
He's quite an elusive chap, apparently, isn't he?
At Bangface, he was quite chatty. He was just hanging around, chatting to punters. He's quite friendly for what I saw. Like.
I was in bed.
And he's Irish. There you go.
Oh, I never knew that.
Born in Limerick.
Oh, I did not know. I did not know that.
Cool. No, I don't think he claims himself as Irish, but anyway. All right.
Cool.
Well, so there you go. Aphex Twin, man.
Yeah, sweet. Let's play that tune then. So
you introduce it. I won't.
No, that's fine. I've been preparing for this with my mouth hold. I'll just stretch. Omegia Switch 7. That'll do.
Good for me.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
here's
that'll do.
Aphex Twin.
Well, that was some Aphex Twin.
It was, and let's not talk about it anymore because we do not know how to say that name. So moving on.
If you can't talk about it, then just move on to the next part. So let's stroll into the final section of the podcast, which is when we talk about personal anthems. So is there one track out there that when you think about your musical tastes, that stands out as the best tune to describe them? Or is there a track that other people maybe associate with you that you would say is your personal anthem? How easy was it to pick one track if you're such an almanac of music, as you've proved to be during this podcast?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to prove to be your most awkward and argumentative person of all time, maybe. Because, we did the Screwface or Hands in the Air.
Yeah.
This tune, Terrorized, Just a Feeling, absolute hands in the air tune.
Yeah, it couldn't be more hands in the air, really.
That's it. So it's the one like contrary song to the
There's lots that's hands in the air, but this one is the most hands in the air. Without a doubt. If your hands are not in the air, you're either dead or your arms are broken.
It is very, very much one of those goosebump songs, isn't it?
Yeah. It's got so much going for it. I mean, it reminds me of the youth, of growing up and discovering rave, and the first times I was going out and buying vinyl. I bought this on vinyl way back in the day. Strange cover with a hamster on it. What's going on? Piano, vocal, breakbeat, dirty synth bass. The female euphoric vocal.
Yeah.
Absolute classic tune. And we're talking anthem.
Absolutely.
If I was coming out at a World Wrestling Federation thing, definitely, yeah.
Amazing. It's good to add that little bit at the end. I always think, like your wrestling walkout music, that proud music.
A track that is just pure energy, really.
Yeah. Sound. Well, thank you very much for spending some time sitting and talking with us. Would you like to announce your personal anthem track to everyone from the On the Rave Nation?
Yeah, man. Yes. Terrorize. Yeah. Just a feeling. Oh, my throat's gone completely.
Well, there you have it. And what a way to end another one of these podcasts that we've done.
I know
Addy.
my hands are still in the air, Gav.
Yeah, I know. What just a feeling, and what a feeling. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed our little blag session and sit down and talk with KUSHTI McPARDY. Don't forget that you can all get along to see KUSHTI at Bangface this year.
At 1 o'clock.
Tell them all about
Friday.
it. Tell them all about it one more time.
Bangface, Friday, Queen Vic, 1 p.m. Everything from bass to jungle and thereabouts and stuff like this. Who knows? It's Bangface, right?
Yeah, that's it. Whatever's in his bag of tricks on that night. So thank you very much for spending some time out of your very busy family life.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it has been a
cheers,
pleasure.
lads. I mean, given the roster of people you've had on here, it's an absolute honour. Unbelievable. So yeah, thank you for inviting me to go down memory lane and really sort of test my knowledge on what I know and what I like. It's been an enlightening experience.
Wonderful. It's nice that you've took something away from it other than a headache. So I'm really glad that you've enjoyed going down memory lane and selecting all the tunes for it. But yeah, thank you very much for the time that you've spent with us talking, and enjoy your set at Bangface, mister.
Right.
Well, Addy, wasn't that a class bit of crack?
It was.
Really nice bloke.
Top banter. Everything I've met him in the past, and which has been like every Bangface for the last 11 years.
Has it been that many
It's
years?
been that, then, yeah, he's always been good lad. Top boy.
And everyone, remember, as we said multiple times, you can get along to see him in the Queen Vic on the Friday night. And
1 o'clock?
Yeah, 1 o'clock, he said he's going to be on. Thank you
We
very
didn't
much.
actually clarify if it was night or afternoon. It could very possibly be the afternoon. 1 o'clock at some point, and you'll all have your Bangface little lineups round your necks.
Oh yeah, when you get your little book of doom, you'll be able to put a circle around.
Let's say KUSHTI McPARDY. Let's go.
Work out how many people he clashes with. If it's 1 in the afternoon, I'd imagine he won't clash
That's with
a
anyone,
lot.
yeah.
But if it's 1 in the night time, you know, there'll probably be other
Big
people.
times.
Yeah, it is. It's peak times. Probably worth it though.
Definitely worth it.
That guy's banter. Yeah.
Definitely worth it. His tune selection is going to be impeccable, I'm guessing, and lots of rageness.
Yeah, spot on. Spot-y dog. Well, we've come to another end of another podcast, Addy, and you know what that means.
It's science, motherfucker.
Yeah, it is. It's time for Addy to pick his scientific clover. His scientific closer for this show. So, Addy, what have you got in your bag of test tubes today?
I've ventured to the eastern side of my scientific bag and come back from Japan with some crazy Japanese breakcore. So a little bit of plinky plonky, amen shenanigan, Japanese girls singing happy hardcore, all sorts. This is fucking.
Words.
It just makes me very happy.
Right.
This song it makes me smile a lot.
So
and
join Addy in his happy smiley face by listening to a little bit of
Sight Alison Rizoko?
Yeah, Alison Rizoko. We'll post a link, but for everyone, for now, I have been Gav.
I'm Addy.
And we are now officially
off the rave.
tell your stories. Like that's a class story about going to Woolies.
That's great.
Yeah. We've got that exact story's come up so many times that people nostalgically talk about going to Woolies and buying singles.
Yeah,
it's great.
I bought one of my first ever Gabba records in Woolies.
They sold Gabba.
Yeah. Woolies at the Metro Centre in Gateshead. I bought a copy of Sperminator, No Women Allowed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woolies were selling an album called Sperminator.
Yeah, on Rotterdam Records.
Bloody hell.
I honestly don't think they knew what it was. I think they just got offered. I think it was just after Poignant stuff came out, so they were just like, oh, well, this is a label. We'll just buy a few in, see if we can sell it.
Yeah.
It's more about the distributors, isn't it? Because it's like, how does that stuff even get distributed in the UK? Because I know SRD did a lot of the rave stuff in the UK, but then the Midtown stuff and Rotterdam Records stuff would have been a completely different distributor, you know?
Yeah.
He's done well if it's ended up in a Woolies in Gateshead.
Yeah.
Like, definitely done well.